everyone, and welcome to the Something in Mimosas podcast, a show where we share powerful life lessons, a few laughs, and empower women while sipping on mimosas. Now, grab some orange juice and champagne and welcome your host, Gail Dudley.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Gail Dudley with Something and Mimosas. Today, I have a wonderful guest to share with you. And before we get started there, I heard from several of you asking that I give you the mimosa recipe first. I guess many of you want to get started by making your mimosa, so I'll give you a second to grab that champagne flute, to grab your champagne. And we'll get started. Hopefully you'll have these ingredients in your kitchen. If not, then just do your regular orange juice and champagne and we'll get started. Today I want to talk about peach mimosas. Yes, that's right, peach mimosas. You're going to need 1 bottle of champagne. You will need 1.5 cups of orange juice, 1 can of peach nectar, right about 12 ounces. And then you want to have a peach for garnish. The directions: you pour all of the ingredients into a large pitcher and stir. That is that simple. Enjoy. And as always, you can do that spiked or not. If you're not using it spiked, you go ahead and get a sparkling cider, or you can also do soda water, although that's not going to taste too great. So go ahead and do your apple cider or your spiked and get the champagne and let's get started. I'm sure many of you are grabbing the ingredients right now and you're getting started. As you're doing that, let me give you an introduction to this amazing woman. Her name is Stephanie Bright. She is God's kid. She is a mom of 3 girls. She is a psychotherapist. She lives in Atlanta suburbs. And she originates from Michigan, the state of Michigan. Y'all know I'm in Ohio. So, of course, I'm going to say OHIO, and she'll probably frown. I know you're over there trying to say something else. I know you are.
I am.
She has also lived in 12 other states. She's a dog owner seeking to help others live on purpose and with authenticity. She has her undergraduate from Brown University in business economics. She has a master's of arts degree, in clinical mental health counseling. She is currently working towards her doctorate in counselor education and supervision. Prior to that, she had 15 years in banking, sales, and management and training. And yes, this is a woman on a mission. She has changed course along the way. All right, now I'm sure by now you have your mimosas poured. So let's jump into this something and mimosas. The something today, we are going to talk about Numa. So welcome, Stephanie. How are you?
Good morning, Gail. Fine, and I'm wishing I had my mimosa right now instead of my coffee, but that's okay.
Coffee's good. Coffee's good. Coffee's good. Coffee's good. So if you're okay with this, Stephanie, let's jump right in.
Sure.
When you say Numa, what do you want people to envision?
A place to breathe. The name came to me years ago and I kept chewing on it and I kept thinking about the Greek word for breath being pneuma, but it kind of starts like pneumonia. So I wasn't thinking quite that name. And then Numa kept coming up and I kept doing research. Numa was a second king of Rome and he was responsible for a lot of really good things. And then as one of my clients, I kind of threw it past her and she said, to me, it sounds like new me. And
That's good.
I thought,
that's good.
Yeah. So I was like, well, thank you, client. So Numa it is, and Numa it will stay. As much as I've tried to run away from it, it has really just kind of been there.
Wow, new me. How many people can say new me? Or how many people, especially in this new year, are interested in becoming new people, especially after that year we had in 2020? Wow, I love that. New me.
New me. And I think you hit it. It's how many people are interested or willing to change and to shift and to kind of allow God to take you where he wants to take you. So
I love it.
as I was thinking, as I was thinking back, you and I went to a conference a long time ago, and there was a question about, what do you dream of? And I remember not being able to answer that question. And it really hit me that I couldn't answer the question because I was in a place where I couldn't breathe. And I
Wow.
wanted to have this space where I could actually think and dream again and allow things to just kind of take place and go with the flow. And then when I was in Atlanta going through a really rough time in a marriage, got pneumonia. And what hit me as I was thinking is God took my breath so he could breathe something new in. And I was willing to change course.
Wow. God took your breath so that you would be willing to breathe again.
Yeah, he planted a new breath, a new seed, even though people thought I was crazy for not just going back to what I had done before. I went back to school in the middle of a divorce and changed direction.
Wow. Wow. Before you get to that, because I do want to hear, and I'm sure people are wanting you to answer that. But you said something a few moments ago about we were at a conference, and I remember that. And you said you just could not dream at that moment.
I
You
couldn't, I
didn't know.
couldn't, I remember sobbing because I was like, I can't dream. All these other women here have dreams and they have passions, and I'm stuck and I can't
Wow.
see. And your husband, Pastor Dudley, told me one time, he said, just keep walking. It's not a black wall, it's a curtain. You just have to keep walking through. And so my focus was just keep walking through and maybe I'll see it.
How were you able to have the strength to keep walking through? It's one thing when someone
Mm.
speaks it to you, but it's something totally different when you decide this is what I'm going to do. Can you tell our audience where the strength came from to keep walking through?
Honestly, I'm going to have to say it was God because there was a lot, and you know my story, and that's not for this conversation, but faith just to walk, just to keep going. I spent a lot of time in prayer, a lot of time in prayer.
Wow. Thank you
And,
for that.
children will motivate you as well. When you look at three little faces looking at you for direction, just keeping you focused on moving forward and not staying stuck.
Wow. I can already hear some of the audience members wanting to say, bring her back so we can hear this story. So we may have to have you back so they can hear this story. So let me go into another question because I know I can feel that people are doing that as they're tuning in. Take a few moments to share when you realize that you found your purpose. When did you realize that?
I think it was in grad school. I found myself, they say that during internship, you find where you're supposed to be just because you're placed in a situation that you probably are very uncomfortable in, but your purpose finds you if you allow it. During grad school for clinical mental health counseling, you have to do a 10 to 12-month unpaid internship and practicum. So you are literally working while you're going to school for free. And you interview at multiple places and then you accept an offer. I had three offers and I chose eating disorders. And for me, there were a lot of stories and a lot of situations that I could relate to. And so as I've walked through, working through a center for eating disorders and then moving into private practice, I find that at this point in my practice, at this point in my journey, my experiences have all brought me here to help other people.
Wow. Wow. What does that do for you? Knowing that you're helping other people.
It's, I remember saying several years ago, I was like, God, if the pain that I had to go through was to help someone else, then I thank you. Because as long as I could remember that it wasn't about me, then I could move forward. When I got stuck into the why is this happening to me, it was very debilitating.
Okay.
So it was that change in focus and that change and remembering that we are all here to help each other. We are all community. And I
Wow.
play a role. All I do is play a role.
Gosh, I love that. Just as you're saying that, I'm just thinking about again the year we're coming out of, 2020. And I'm sure people are saying, why am I here? Why is this happening to me? Some of us have lost loved ones, people that we know. Some have been distant family or friends, or some have been really close relatives or friends. And so, just thinking for a moment, okay, we're still at home. Yes, a vaccine is here in the United States and other countries as well. We've been on Zoom calls. We've been working remotely. We've been learning remotely. We're unable to visit family and friends during two of the biggest holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. And there's just so much more. So people are not saying, I'm stuck here today. I'm using your words there. What can we do now that we are into a new year? And how do we stop saying 2020 was a year from hell, or 2020 we were in COVID hell, or 2020? How do we turn that language and turn our mindset? What tips could you offer those of us who are listening to you today? Please help us, Stephanie.
Well, I think it's mindset. You and I talked, I think, in the beginning. It was my middle daughter's birthday when school shut down and COVID came. We were changing course. And I remember saying out loud to my kids, I was like, oh, reset button, everybody get your house in order. Because it wasn't, we could look at it as we're trapped. And I actually had a conversation with a family member the other night that was like, oh, now I can't do this and I can't do that. I'm like, but what can we do? Stop telling me what we can't do. What can we do in this? Let's be creative. Let's use what the tools that we have, or how do we maybe focus on what's important? And for me, I was like, ooh, no soccer practice, no band practice. I'm not driving 5,000 miles a month right now. This is okay.
Okay.
But I had to refocus myself. It looked different and it felt different. But I mean, I think you've known me long enough that I'm going to find some sunshine somewhere. There's going to be a sliver. And I think we have to hold on to those pieces of good things that we can find in the midst of the rubble.
And where do we find those pieces, though? Okay, you said that in the midst of the rubble, there are some people who are listening, they're saying, I just can't find that sliver of sunshine. Maybe 4 or 5 people in their family passed from COVID. What can you tell that person? What can they do to give them even a sliver of that sunshine?
They're still breathing. They're still here.
That's a good one.
God allows us to take beauty out of ashes to steal from. I think that's Priscilla Shirer. There's still a reason. It's when my marriage was failing and my life got turned upside down and my children's life got turned upside down. Is looking to say, okay, we have what we thought was going to be this dream and this family and this thing, but how do we recreate out of what's left?
Wow. Recreate out of what's left.
Yeah.
Now that's powerful.
Sometimes in our culture, we look at brokenness and we're like, oh, throw it away. It's disposable. Rather than if you look at, I can't remember what it's called, but the Japanese have this beautiful pottery that they do. They break the pieces and they put the pieces back together with gold overlays. So there's like this gold loveliness in between these cracked pieces. And if we kind of look at ourselves the same way, we're all broken. But how do we allow, God to kind of paint that overlay to put our pieces back together again and show us the Japanese pieces are of enormous value.
Right. That's something right there. We're a value.
We're a value. Even in our brokenness, we are a value. And that is how we can go out to the world and help other broken people.
Wow, that's good. I know the viewers cannot see me, but I'm sitting here shaking my head yes, saying yes to everything that she's saying, because there are broken people and you have to find that sliver of sunshine. And it starts with, if we heard Stephanie, I can't wait till we can call you Dr. Bright. When we heard Stephanie say that you're able to breathe. So when you breathe, that's it. That's it. So along the same line, can you please just talk with us a little bit about how people can begin to return what used to be? Or do you believe we should embrace what we call our new normal?
I think we have to look and say, what do we want our new normal to look like? Because sometimes we run back to the old because it's familial, but it may not, and it may be comfortable in theory, but I think we get to redefine what we want to see and what we want our lives to look like. And this is a great space to be able to do that.
Wow. Okay.
There's a story that I tell sometimes about a woman who cuts the end of her ham off. Every time she makes a ham, she cuts the end off. And her husband asks her, why do you cut the end of the ham off? And she's like, my mom did it. So she calls her mom, and her mom's like, well, your grandmother did it. So the mom calls the grandmother, and she said, my pan was too small, so I cut the end off. Why do you do it?
So how we mimic what we see from other people, not even knowing why they do what they do.
Exactly. We are programmed early on, but we have to step back and say, how am I programmed? And do I want to keep some of this programming, or is there some of this stuff I should throw out because it doesn't work?
Right, right.
But we get to define it, not somebody else. Is taking that step back to say, why do I do the things that I do? Why do I think the way that I think?
That's
There are
good.
some things that are faulty that I need to change? Are there some things that make a lot of sense?
Right,
We get to change it. We often think we can't, but we really do. We have opportunities every day to reset.
right. Wow. And I'm just going back to the ham. And it's so funny because just think how much good ham was being cut off and thrown
Oh my
away
gosh. Just
because they
from
did not know she did that to fit the pan. We do
yeah.
it because we saw it done previously.
And just wasted.
Wasted, which
Mhm.
says, how much life are we wasting?
Ding.
And I think for a moment, if I can go there and just be transparent myself, it's like, I'm going to lose weight this year. I'm going to lose weight this month. I'm going to lose
Yes.
weight. And it's like, how much time am I wasting saying I'm going to do it instead of just doing it? How much time are
Or
we wasting? Go ahead, Stephanie.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I
Jump
was gonna
in.
say, or recognizing that maybe that's not the focus right now. Because if we really want to do something, we do it.
Right, right,
But we also have to
right,
look at if I'm not doing something, there's a reason, and I need to look at that.
right. Oh, this is good, y'all. This is good. This is good. This is good.
Well, it's so funny to me because there's so many things we say over and over and over again, but we look at the reasons why we want to do something, but we don't look at why we don't. And until we
Yeah,
look at why we don't and what we're going to do about those don'ts, we're not going to do it because
yeah.
there are always obstacles that we're just not paying attention to.
Do you believe some of that creates some of the stress that people are carrying in their
And
life? And if so, when we're thinking about some common mistakes or the stress that comes with that, how do we avoid holding on to that junk? Because we're putting the stress on ourselves. Yes or no? Or am I seeing
absolutely.
this differently?
No, it's the internal battle that we have. And I think, one of the things that I've had to learn to do is let go of a lot of expectations. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment every time.
Say that again. Expectations.
Expectations minus reality equals disappointment.
Oh, you gotta say that one more time because that just like gut punched me. One more time.
Expectations minus reality equals disappointment.
I hope everybody got that because I just heard that. Oh gosh, that was great. So keep going. I didn't even cut you off, but that was too good to just let you slip by. So keep
It,
going.
but I think that's it. When we look and we start looking at our expectations around lots of things, other people, ourselves, where we work, what people do, how people treat us, the gamut. We set ourselves up because we have these expectations that everything will work in a certain way. And when it doesn't, we're frustrated.
Wow.
And if we can just let go and realize, hey, we're not in charge of anything but ourselves.
Right.
God's in charge of all of it.
Now you know the saying that it's a process, not a destination.
Mhm.
So what you just shared right there, how can one even begin to start the process of doing better?
Take a step back, breathe, and ask yourself, what are the thoughts that are really coming up for me and where are they coming from? Is there evidence to support what I'm thinking or am I making this up?
So you said take a step back, breathe, and then it's like doing a self-evaluation. Would you call it that?
Absolutely. Because I think we often don't take steps back and look at ourselves.
Now, how long should we linger in the back though?
Well, I mean, we still have to live. We still have to keep going. So, but I think taking time out every day, and I'm not the best at this. I get to reflect all day long as I'm talking to clients, but taking 15 minutes out at night or in the morning just to kind of reflect on where you are, what comes up, and writing and writing and writing and writing and allowing some of those thoughts that you don't really put out there, but allowing them to come out on paper so you can see them and say, does this make sense? Or is this just way off? Because in our head, things sound really reasonable, like
Mhm.
they make a ton of sense. But when we look at it on paper, sometimes we get a very different picture.
Wow. 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 This is deep. And we're running out of time, but this is deep. So I guess we will
Yes.
have to have you back. So let me ask a couple
Yeah.
more questions. Just listening to you talking about taking a step back and breathe. For you, with this career change, with life change, with three daughters, your business, your practice, everything, your private practice, and everything that you're doing, how do you balance family, business, and self care?
It's hard. I'll just say that is hard. The benefit, I don't have 2 hours plus of commuting every day. So I am here. My kids are homeschooled, which is good and is not so good. So I get to check on them throughout the day. And I do try really hard to manage cutoff times for work. And when I'm just with the girls, times where I'm just with myself. I'm very, very, very protective of my time with myself just because I don't get a lot. And I think we, especially during the holiday season, and again, other people's expectations of us and the expectations of it has to be this way.
Mhm.
Why? Why does it? I remember my graduation from grad school. I didn't go, and people were just appalled and shocked. And I said, "Well, I took a self care day because I wanted to stay at home in my pajamas, and I did." And you have to know what you need. And
Right.
sometimes you've got to get real in tune with yourself to know what you need and to give yourself permission for those things. If it's permission for a mimosa first thing on a Monday morning, then go for it. If it's if it's shutting the door and sitting in your bathroom in the bathtub and letting kids watch TV for a little while longer, you got to do it because it's you they say put the air mask or the oxygen mask on yourself first, especially as a mom, before you put it on
Yeah.
other people. It's counterintuitive, but it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you shared that it was 2019 that I decided to do Christmas differently. I stayed home when the family traveled to Atlanta. I stayed home by myself. They were like, "What are you doing?" My family that lives in Columbus wanted me to come eat with them. And I was like, I am in my pajamas all day. I'm eating a hamburger and I'm watching movies. And everybody thought I was crazy. So actually, I got a jump on what everyone experienced last year in 2020 for Christmas. But I had the time of my life. It was so relaxing. It was so self care. It was so, yeah. And people were like, "Well, are you lonely? Or something wrong?" No, no. I just want to enjoy myself. I'm writing my own script. And it's funny how some
You
people
just
will project their stuff onto you to make you think what you're doing is crazy. And it's like, no, this feels good right now.
yes, it's but you just said it. You were writing your own script.
Yes,
And
yes.
how many of us are afraid to write our own scripts?
Yes, fearful that what somebody else is going to think of them. Yeah, see, we're already going somewhere else, so we got to shut this down, y'all. We just got to bring her back with Numa take two, or take three, or take four, or something. So let me ask these last few questions. People may be wondering right now: are you taking new clients? And now that we are remote, do you take out of state clients? We know you live in Atlanta, in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. So I guess I asked two questions there, and then I have a follow-up question after that. Are you taking new clients? And now that we are remote, do you take out-of-state clients?
I've got a few spaces kind of left on my schedule because I am protective. My instinct is always to take a lot more, and I'm probably over right now, but work is good and work is fulfilling.
Great.
So I will take some people. I am licensed in the state of Georgia, so it's really going to depend on what regulations say with COVID,
Okay.
and what our states do with being able to cross state lines in terms of being able to practice across state lines.
Okay.
So definitely worth looking at.
Okay.
I'm at Numa Coaching, but
Okay.
you can find me at numacoaching@gmail.com.
Okay. All right. I love that. And now I want everyone to know I have some really good friends. If y'all notice, she's taken only a couple spaces left. So I only deal with powerhouses, people. And Stephanie is definitely another powerhouse. And I'm just so excited to share her with all of you today. So we do have one more question before we get out of here. Where can people learn more about you and your work?
The website is coming hopefully on Friday, and it will be if you pull up Numa Coaching, NUMA Coaching.
.com, .org,
.com.
So Numa, NUMA coaching.com.
Yes.
Cool. Well, everyone, you got so much today. I'm going to give Stephanie just a couple seconds to give some last minute things before I give you the salutation and sign off. So Stephanie, you have any last few parting words before we get ready to sign off?
I will encourage everybody to take time out and breathe. Literally, I've seen a lot. There was another story about taking a hot yoga class, and I looked around and I'm like, oh, these people can breathe so well. We often don't know how to breathe. It is so basic. And so one of those things we don't think about, but we've got to learn how to breathe fully, to take time out, to be with ourselves, to learn to love and care for ourselves and our bodies. We only get one. And enjoy, even in the midst of this COVID craziness and the political craziness and everything else that's going on, find something that you can enjoy that brings you peace, even if it's looking at a tree. Find something.
I love that. I love that. I love that. All right, y'all, let me give y'all this mimosa recipe one last time. This is for peach mimosas, 1 bottle of champagne. And y'all can be cheap champagne too. 1.5 cups of orange juice, 1 can of peach nectar. That's about 12 ounces. You can have a peach for garnish. Your directions, you're going to pour all the ingredients into a large pitcher and you're going to stir and then you're going to enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me today for Something and Mimosas. We want to hear from you. Give us some feedback. Email info, INFO, Gail Dudley, GAIL, D as in David, U, D as in David, LEY @gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have a topic you would like for us to share. Or let us know if you want to join me on the podcast, you and a couple of friends, we can have a great time with our mimosas. If you have a special mimosa recipe and you want me to read it on the podcast, please send that also to info.gaildudley@gmail.com. And as always, you can find me at www.gaildudley.com. And that's GAIL, D as in David, U, D as in David, LEY. You can find me the same at Twitter at Gail Dudley and on Instagram at Gail Dudley. And Stephanie, what are your social media platforms?
Instagram is coming. I'm
Okay.
adding something. I've been consulting with another group and using Park Air Consultants, which you can also find me at. It is coming to be determined.
Okay. Well, by the time we bring her back, I'm sure she'll have all of that set up and we'll be excited about it. All right, people, you have a great day. Raise your champagne flute or your coffee mug or whatever, and let's say cheers together with Something and Mimosas. Again, this is Gail Dudley. You make it a great week until next time. Peace out, people. Peace out.
Thank you for joining us on the Something and Mimosas podcast. And don't forget to come back next week. For more Something and Mimosas, follow Gail on Instagram at Gail Dudley, subscribe to Gail's YouTube, or visit us at gaildudley.com.